It's been a while Apple has given us one of these, so let's talk about it. Hey, what's good guys, it's Aryaman here, back with another video, and this is my first impression on the recent Apple event, Hello Again. Now before we jump right in, we'll talk about a little bit of updates that Apple made. So Apple first starts off by bragging about the release of the new iPhone, which is the iPhone 7. They also mentioned that the 60% of iPhone users are on the latest firmware, which is iOS 10. And they also say that only 1% of the Android universe is only on this latest firmware, which is 7.1. Only 1% of them are actually using the new firmware. Then they talk about the new Apple TV. Now first I thought that they will give us another Apple TV, but it actually never happened. They actually were talking about a new TV app that they recently released. Now the main motive of this app is basically to get a unified experience. So for that, what they will do is, with an update with iOS 10, there will be a TV app in your iPhone or iPad or iPod, and basically there will be a unified experience where you can be updated about your channels or movies. So it's about all that boring stuff. I won't get on to the details. Now let's jump right in. Now coming on to the new Mac they released. Now I first thought that they will not only release a new MacBook Pro, but also they would release a new iMac or something, but they actually didn't. They only released a new MacBook Pro. Now the first thing that actually defines the MacBook Pro is that new organic display. Your eyes just jump right into that organic display, and you wonder like, where are the function keys? Now first, Apple mentions that it has been 25 years since the release of the original Mac PowerBook, and they also compare it with the new MacBook Pro, so it's a pretty interesting comparison. Now Apple even mentions that how much better and how much faster it is than the original PowerBook. They say that it's 6.8 million times more faster than the original PowerBook, which is impressive. And not to mention, Apple says that these are the most thinnest and lightest MacBook Pros they have ever made. Now putting the 13-inch MacBook Pro of the last year and putting the new MacBook Pro side by side, we see that there's quite a big amount of difference. The 13-inch MacBook Pro actually is 18 millimeters thick, and the new MacBook Pro is only 14.9 millimeters thick. So that's quite a difference. They say that it's 17% thinner than the previous generation of MacBook Pro. In fact, its volume has shrunk as well. It is 23% less in volume compared to the previous generation of MacBook Pro. Now when you first open your MacBook Pro, the first thing that stands out is the new organic display. But aside from that, there's a new feature where the trackpad is 2 times larger. That's only possible because of the new butterfly mechanism of the keyboard. So it is quite large. Also, Apple has said that they have improved the butterfly mechanism they had on the previous MacBooks, so they call it the second generation butterfly mechanism, which might also allow this trackpad to be 2 times larger. Now coming on to that organic display that Apple was so proud of. They spend almost all the time in their keynote talking about this itself. Now because it's an organic display, blacks look pitch black, and it's efficient, so it should not draw a lot more power. Now just because it replaces your function keys, that doesn't mean you still don't have them. They are still there, but there are like a lot more features except for those function keys, and not to mention that escape key as well. The options that are shown on that display change according to the current app you're working on. For example, Safari, it will show your favorite browsers, or maybe social networking apps like your Facebook and Twitter, it will show all of that in your organic display, so you can jump right into your favorite website. Now this is where that display comes really handy. Apple first talks about Final Cut Pro, the new version of it, and they implemented the software into the touch bar. So basically the person actually edits the video with the help of that touch bar, and it turned out to be really handy. Now Adobe Photoshop has also made its way to the MacBook Pro, and basically stuff is integrated to the touch bar, and they actually show us how to edit a picture with the help of this new touch bar. The main thing that I noticed here was the display was all free. It was just the image you're looking at. All the options were there in the touch bar, which was really good. Again, for music applications, it gives you many more options to control your music and basically improves your user experience. Now overall, the touch bar is a really handy tool and should get improved in the future updates. It allows us to have a lot less clicks and mousing. You can just open complicated things with a simple tap. So it's a really handy tool to have. Now talking about the other parts of this MacBook Pro. Now the 15-inch MacBook Pro is actually having a second generation Touch ID at the right of the organic display, which should be very handy for unlocking your device. Now you can also customize your touch bar with new features and options given by Apple. Now first off, Apple says that it's the best display on a MacBook ever they have made. Now the new display is 67% brighter, 67% higher contrast ratio, and 25% more colors. They also said that there is a new color palette in this beautiful display. Now talking about the performance, here's where I think the MacBook Pro is a total powerhouse. It's a beast. Now we have 6th generation of the Intel processor, which means Core i7. Now the GPU of this MacBook Pro has actually a Polaris architecture with 4 GB of video RAM and is 2.3x faster, and it has a 14nm Polaris architecture as well. SSDs have been improved as well with faster ones with 2 TB of storage. Now this MacBook Pro is also having an advanced thermal architecture which should deal with all the heating stuff more efficiently. Also the MacBook Pro is having improved speakers. Now I cannot say anything about that, but Apple is saying that it has twice the dynamic range. So I think the speakers should be a little better from the speakers we got in the MacBooks last year. Apple says that in the 15-inch MacBook Pro there will be 130% increase in 3D graphics performance, 60% of improvement in gaming performance, and 57% improvement in video editing performance. Now in the smaller MacBook Pro, the changes are a little bit smaller with Intel Core i5 or Core i7 configurations, Intel Iris graphics GPU, and it has super fast SSDs. So with that, the 13-inch MacBook Pro will have 103% improvement in gaming performance, 76% in video editing, and 76% in 3D graphics performance. Also, it is good to hear that the MacBook Pro is having 4 USB Type-C ports, which means you can literally charge your MacBook from anywhere. Apple also mentions that with these many USB Type-C ports, you can build a complete workstation out of it. Now also because of USB Type-C, yes, the MagSafe chargers are gone. So my thoughts? Well, the MacBook Pro is a complete redesign with improved speakers, improved display, and improved just everything that was bad about the last year's MacBook Pro. Also, it has some new features like Touch ID and Touch Bar, which they have made very handy stuff with it. And yeah, I think you should completely go for this new MacBook Pro. Well, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below, and make sure to go MacBook Pro on that like button and that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.